if you brought your worry, if everybody came together and brought like their concerns and the worries to the center of this world, you'd find out that yours was hardly anything compared to everybody else, and you would take yours away from that big ball. Yeah, I just think it's just lack of discipline from a lot of people,
Mm,
and just the matter of you got to just come from a place of where you're at right now. Hopefully, it's not in a place of lack and scarcity to set that fire. You need to set that fire yourself. You need to find your why. You need to get down to the gratitude part and add the word because. And I've heard a lot of, I've gone through a lot of books like yourself, not as much as as you have, but one of the key things I took from, people speaking gratitude is add the word because you add a value to your gratitude. You can say that, hey, I'm happy for having my health. Well, why are you? Because I can be there for my partner, because I can be there for my child, because I can be there for others. Like adding that because adds so much value to it.
that is that I agree. The because is important. It's one thing to say, I'm happy. Okay. I'm happy because it's like it means that you have a deeper awareness of the root of what is fueling that. I'm grateful because. So that means that now you will protect that foundation of that gratefulness because it's you know what it's tied to, right? I'm really grateful for that because it helps me to it builds my vocabulary in communication, right? I'm able to tell people, especially when I'm trying to connect with them or looking to connect. I don't want to say trying, right? Because that requires an action. I either connect or I don't. So, and that's where I'm at now in this current phase of life, right? I'm either connecting with people or I'm not connecting with people. That doesn't mean that I'm not in relationships with people. It means that you go to the gym, you go to the free weights. If you want to curl dumbbells, you go grab the dumbbells and you curl the dumbbells. You're not going to find the dumbbells in the squat area, right? The dumbbells are over here. You have to go over to the squat area where the leg machines and all the leg information, the leg equipment is. They have the free weights there. You can use the free weights to do dumbbell curls, but that bar is a little bigger. It's gonna be a little awkward. But you put the weights on there for the squats and you have your leg press, and that's where you do that, right? If you want to go running, you're not going to be running where the squats machines and stuff are. You go find your treadmill, your elliptical stuff over there in the cardio section. What am I saying is that everything has its place. Every relationship has its purpose and function. I may connect with people. That does not mean that they get the same level of connection or depth of connection or type of connection, right? They may not see a complete version of who I am because they have not deserve the right to see that. They may not see the areas of vulnerability that I'm currently having or the opportunities that I'm facing in that area. I heard something about Brene Brown, who is this psychologist who I think she just not that long ago got her doctorate in it. She talked about don't share your shame and guilt with people who haven't earned the right to hear it, right? Not that you are shameful or guilty, but it's like that is a precious area. That is a intimate area. And not everybody has the right. to it. Not everybody has earned the right to it or deserves access to that. So I am learning in this season of my own life with my own tribe and squads, how to connect with them, when to connect with them, and what to share, what not to share. And not who I show up, right? Because I'm going to always be myself in whatever environment situation I'm in. Um, but even God doesn't share himself completely with everybody the same way, right? He shows up in the way that that person can receive him and perceive him. Like, even when we were talking about some of the people that we've been around, I was like, I show up in the way that, okay, you've shown me that you can't handle this. What about this? Okay, you get this. You can handle that, so you get this. You get the more, open and energetic. You get all of that. You get the trickle. You get the little spring of water, the drop, right? The little because that's what that's too much for you already. So let's just keep it that way. And I have gotten so much I've gotten so much heat about that, bro. He's like, oh, you're not being genuine. I was like, you can't handle my genuineness. It's like, and that's I can relate so much with people when it comes to like, showing up and being authentic, getting into facing the distractions. Um, Sometimes the person showing up genuinely with you is a distraction. The person that is receiving the genuine outpour has not been molded to a place to where they can handle that. It's too much for them.
I mean, I think it stems from like a background. Everybody has a
Yeah,
story, but it's also about who you're around. You know, one of the pastors had told a story about how like when you try to grow, and hopefully you're coming from a place of, good and not from a place of loss and scarcity, but sometimes your group will act like the crab. So if you've never gone to the beach before, or if you have and you're trying to collect crabs, you don't need a lid for the bucket. You'll need it for the first crab you get because they'll just climb right out. But you find a second crab, that second crab's just going to pull it down. So you'll never need it. Same thing if you go into a store, you'll see this firsthand. They never have a lid over it because the crabs are all pulling them back. So that's another thing too, talking about, this what we have here going on with the locker room is that you also have to be careful about who you're surrounding yourself with because at the end of the day, you may need to do what I've heard this acronym before, FIO, figure it out. That means that when you're by yourself and you're dealing with your own troubles that you may have incurred yourself, you may have shot yourself in the foot by incurring that problem because 90% of their life's problems are self-inflicted from low EQ. You created this, but if you FIO it, you'll find so much more rewarding life at the end of it because you did that on your own. You took accountability. I was going to ask you too. I think we may have talked about it a year or two ago. Have I told you or shared with you the 5 G's of life to have a successful life?
you have not. You have not. But you did talk to me about that. Figure it out.
The FIO, right? Figure
Yeah,
it out.
that I
Yeah, when life hits you with problems, like don't act like a victim, be the man and figure it out. There's a lot of times, I mean, I could talk about my own life and figure out like how I had to get through it. I couldn't, you know, pull on other people to get me out of my hole. I had to do it on my own. So, and there are going to be times you may have your tight squad with you, but everyone, maybe already inundated with their own problems and you're going to have to you're going to have to be a sigma wolf or alpha wolf and get yourself out of that hole. And again, 90% of the time it's self-inflicted. 10% of the time, yes, the world is giving you something that was unfair, but 90% of the time it's self-inflicted.
the 5 G's.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, if these men that come up to you asking for communication and things like that, it's one of the things, again, as I mentioned earlier, I feel like they need to show you they've taken action on things. It's almost like how a lot of times, like when a woman's in an abusive relationship or maybe she's not. She's just in like an, undecided area, or even a guy too, where they're like, I don't know about this. And we give our advice and they never take it. They don't take the action. But I'm just wondering if they actually practice. And, I heard this from somebody where they said to have a successful life, follow these 5 G's, kind of like a set of keys. So one is have goals, as I mentioned earlier, have a game plan. You can have goals, but it's kind of like a dream, it's not, if you don't have that game plan lined out, you're not going to accomplish it. What is your week goal? What is today's goal? What is the month goal? What is your quarterly goal? And what's your year goal? And what's your 5 year plan goal? Have those goals lined up, then you won't feel like the world is just on your shoulders constantly, because when you're accomplishing those goals, you feel good about yourself. You may not be so overwhelmed with, I need to communicate about how I feel about this or that. Again, a lot of these guys that I feel like, are coming to you, they have some goals in their head, but it's not like a table. It sounds like their table might be only have like 3 legs on it or
Mhm,
2 legs on it. It's not really balanced out, because if there's enough pressure on one side, they're crumbling.
this is true.
Growth, they need to learn, constantly be learning. What have you done to learn about your communication? Probably nothing. I guarantee you, if I asked you, 90% of those guys, they haven't done anything about communication, strengthening the communication, or learning about it.
No, no, it's like you not to, well, yes, it's insert here for you, but you're absolutely right. Like you would think that they would ask, okay, well, what can I do to improve communication? Like you seem to know, you've done some stuff. What did you do so I can dive into that? But no, not most of the time. I would say 90% um is no.
Yeah. Yeah, like look for the action, because again, that's how you'll also surround yourself with a good group of people, because those people are taking action. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be there for that emotional vampire just sucking me down like that crab. I need someone that's on that level of, I'm ready to step up and be accountable
Hmm.
and start taking steps for myself and for those around me. So if I do need to reach out to somebody and says, I'm just having a hard time, I'm having a weak moment, I know that I'm typically accountable for this. I just need someone to kind of lean on for this moment. Because I'm telling you, you might open up Pandora's box with too many of these guys that are just like failing to see that they need to be accountable for their emotions, other people's time, when to communicate, all this. The fourth one is give. They've done studies on it. People that actually give more than, what was it, a study on like $20. Like, so the person that gave all their $20 felt happier longer than the person that actually spent the $20 on themselves. It doesn't have to be money. It can also be time, just giving your time to listen to somebody and being there. And the same thing, that's what I was talking about earlier about welfare trade-off ratio. I think that's also an emotional level too, right? You got to have that balance in your community. If you find yourself being the one that's like always emotionally dumping on people, you probably need to step back and start listening and show that you can be there for other people as well.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then lastly, I think that's going to build up a solid group. Once you have that accountability set, you will start surrounding yourself with a good group of people. And that group of people doesn't always necessarily have to be about fitness. It could be like that Fave Five, if you will, like, people that are business mindset. All right, well, that's great. Maybe I have something to learn from them. This person really has their fitness down because they're spending 8 hours in the gym and they know how to get a diet down. Okay, that's great. This person has a marriage that's been there for like 50 years and's gone through a lot and they obviously know how to communicate. That's probably someone I want to like follow through on that. I don't think we're all designed to be perfect by any means. We still have areas of, you know, weaknesses that we could build on. And that's what I think making a good group is about, is learning from each other's weaknesses and learning from each other's strengths. But I don't think we can just surround ourselves with a bunch of muscle heads and like, yeah, I just love the gym all day. Like we need to have that balance, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, but I mean, it helps with leg day. But you are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. You said is goals. Um, because obviously I'm not taking notes. So
Goals, game plan,
goals, game plan,
give,
grow. It was
grow, and then
grow,
your group.
give, group. Yeah.
Because I don't think you'll have men coming up to you in the locker room saying like, I feel like Because if they honestly had that discipline and that accountability and the action, they'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's yeah. Yeah, I think that's true because it's like a lot of times I try to hold the people accountable. Like it's gotten to the point to
Your
where
responsibility, though. It's our responsibility to be accountable. You can hold them accountable as like you're setting boundaries. I think that's what you're getting at is like
yeah,
holding them accountable, but that's setting boundaries for yourself.
very true. Because I'm like, look, you said this, and this, so this is my response to that because um, I'm all for being the person to advocate for someone and then to give them the opportunity um, to give them the opportunity to improve because I know what it's like to not have that, right? I know what it's like to have to try and figure it out on your own when you are literally looking for help. As opposed to like, forget you and you just going and doing it because you want to be a little smart aleck or stubborn or whatever. It's like when you're sincerely looking for help and you're trying to figure it out and you don't really know where to even begin. So I understand and I can relate to that. I can also relate to the people who say that and they're just wanting what you said, the attention, and they're just emotional vampires. They just want to suck you dry, right? Um, so it's a bit of a dance, you know, um, and choice. Am I going to and perhaps maybe it's not just me. Maybe it's other people who are finding themselves in this situation, the same type of situation where it's like you're the strong friend. You're the one that everybody comes to. You're the one that gets the outpouring or whatever the case may be. You're the one that can handle all the different things, and you're dealing with people or facing people who are looking to develop strong friend groups, but don't realize that they're the weak link. So it's like you know maybe that you're that type of person too. It's like you have to and first love yourself enough to know when to back away. Love yourself enough to know when you're being played. Love yourself enough to know when someone is really not serious and to call them out on it at the beginning, right? You already know. And it doesn't mean that they can't do it. It just means that you have to love yourself to know whether or not something's going to take capacity away from what you know you're supposed to be focusing on, as opposed to being nice. Kindness and nice are not the same, right?
But well, I mean, you used a very broad word, and I think a lot of people use it or take it for granted. You said love yourself enough. Can you elaborate on what that looks like? Love yourself enough.
Yes. That's going to go into a whole nother segment. I'm going to try and keep it. I'm going to try and right package it up right love yourself enough like when you become aware of things that you do right when you become aware of how um I'll use myself. I have became aware very recently of how I never really set boundaries. I thought I set boundaries, right? I had physical boundaries clearly because I'm away from people. But I did not
Well,
have
I thought set the boundaries because now we have less than a minute.